I started riding. My first experience with a motorized two-wheel vehicle was in Italy in 1968. I took a
Wow.
trip there with my father, and he rented. At that time, if you was 50 cc's or under, you didn't need a license. So it was those
Oh,
bikes
wow.
were, or the scooter was 3 speed, and I think it was the clutch and the gear shift was on the right side, and you'd shift from first to second to third, and then or it might have been the opposite. But anyway, that's when my first experience, and I had it figured out in about 3 minutes because I really wanted to ride it. Uh, and then we came back home. It was a vacation. I got a mini bike, and that was an automatic. And then you know that lasted maybe a year. And let's see, back in 1974, I got my first real motorcycle.
Okay.
And I was at the time I was going out with this girl whose father was an avid motorcyclist, and he gave me my initial instructions. So I bought a 19, I think it's a 1974 Honda CB 404, which
Okay.
was then a mid-sized bike. Now you would call it a pretty small bike. Uh, and he said to me, "Just follow me." That was it. That was the only instructions I had. And since I knew how to shift and I knew how the clutch worked, that went okay.
Hmm.
I guess a couple of years later, I bought a 750 Honda, and that compared to the 400, it felt like I was driving a car. And I had that for a couple of years. Then I stopped riding for a while. But in 98, I bought a 750 Honda Ace motorcycle because it looked very much like the Harley. I think at the time it was the Harley Heritage, but the Harley Heritage was like they were 15 grand from the factory, but they were getting 25,000 bucks for them. So I wasn't about to spend that kind of money.
Wow.
Yeah, but I like that look. I like the classic American look. So I bought the Honda. It was only 5 grand. Rode that around for about a year, and then they started. One of the guys in the sheriff's office wanted to start a motor unit, so he got a grant from the federal government. And what they would do is, you tell them how many people or how many bikes you wanted. They gave you all the money for the motorcycles, the equipment, the uniforms, everything that you needed initially, and then after that, you were on your own. And I put in for it, but it was a very political thing, so I didn't get it. And as
Hmm.
it worked out, by the way, they bought Honda Ace Tours because they were cheaper. They were like, I think 11 grand, and the Harleys were 13,000. But the Harleys came with all the equipment. The Hondas,
Oh,
they had to convert to police work, which was, it didn't work out so well. But anyway, that's initially how we got it. And I didn't get picked for the first squad, but one of the guys who did get picked broke his leg or his ankle, I think, the first week of training.
yeah.
And and it was just dumb luck because I was walking into the sheriff's office, and the major and the lieutenant were walking out, and the major says, "Jerry, do you have a motorcycle license?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He says, "Well, we down one guy. Would you like to be in the motor squad?" I said, "Sure." So it's just dumb luck. But they
Yeah.
couldn't send they sent these guys down to Tampa to train, but since they were already a week into the course, I couldn't go down there, so I had to wait until they started a course up with the highway patrol. So it was 15 state troopers and me. And I knew it was going to be a tough time because state troopers and deputies always give each other a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
And I went up there. And the problem, though, was with the Honda, it was a 65-inch wheelbase with a 32-degree rake. And the course is set up for Harley Davidsons, which are a 64-inch and 26-degree rake. So that meant that I had 4 inches to play with to make an error. Any more than 4 inches, if I was off, I couldn't do it. But in the end, it actually made me a better rider. And I would have the instructor get on the bike and ride it through the course because I figured if he could do it, I could do it. And that's pretty much how it went with just about every one of the exercises. As long as he could do it, I knew, I could do it. And of course, I dropped the bike a bunch of times the first 2 or 3 days. And after you get tired of picking the motorcycle up, you start listening to what they're saying and using the proper techniques and turning your head and eyes and using the friction zone, etc.
So they didn't tell you just to follow me like your dad did?
No, but for the first day of training, some of these troopers, and I was shocked about this, some of these troopers never had been on a motorcycle in their life. I thought that everybody, they would at least give them some kind of test, but they didn't. So I talked to a few of these guys and I said, I understand it's a pretty tough course and you never been on a motorcycle. They said, no, as long as we're game to give it a try. So the first day of training, they got us all lined up. Troopers, they like this very military stuff. So they the guy comes out, yells attention. Everybody stands at attention. And I look around. I got in there with them. I'm standing at attention. And this guy pulls up on a brand new police bike and he's dangling the keys. Does anybody here know how to ride a motorcycle? Now, I know enough not to volunteer
Yeah.
for stuff, but
Yeah.
because I've talked to some of these guys, and I figured, well, maybe he knows that some of them didn't ride. So I raise my hand. He jumps in my face. He screams at me. He says, you don't know shit about riding a motorcycle, but you're going to know if you make it through this course. And man, he was exactly right. The first day I found out I could have taken that 20 years of riding experience I thought I had and throw it in the garbage because it meant nothing. I had no technique at all.
Yeah, I didn't have 20 years of riding experience, but I had maybe like 5 or 6, maybe 7. And when I took my first class, I felt almost the same way. I was like, man, I thought I knew a lot. I have a lot of miles, but all these new tips, turning your head, making sure you actually turn your head, all the primary controls. I learned so much more. Did that like help or hurt you when you went to the training? Like all the 20 years, like I know this. Did it hurt you in terms of trying to ride?
I don't think it hurt me. I had read books about it, using head and eyes and that type of thing. And I was already pretty good with using the clutch.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew about dragging the rear brake helps you to stabilize the bike at low speeds. I even thought that I was using my head and eyes, but I found out I was using it just a tiny bit. Now I had to use it to the extreme. And once you get that, that's what turns it around for you to know that when you snap that head around as far and fast as possible, the handlebars are going to follow.